So I really need to vent because I've been holding this in for almost a week, and now I'm finally ready to do something about it. You can decide for yourselves whether what I'm planning is justified or if I've completely lost my mind. At this point, I honestly don't care either way. I'm 29 years old and work in logistics coordination for a distribution company. It's not exactly glamorous work, but I've always been careful with money ever since graduating college. 4 years ago, when the housing market dipped, I bought my apartment. It's a 2-bedroom unit in a decent building and includes a parking spot. The important detail here is that the place is completely mine. I finished paying off the mortgage last year because I threw every bonus I received directly at the remaining balance. That part becomes important later. Lucia moved in with me about 9 months ago. We had only been dating for roughly 5 months before that, when she mentioned her lease was ending and rents in her neighborhood had skyrocketed. She framed the idea of moving in as something practical. She said she'd help cover groceries and utilities and that it would shorten her daily commute a lot. I agreed because I genuinely believed our relationship was moving towards something serious. I enjoyed having her around. I liked the idea of sharing my home with someone I cared about. But there's something important you need to notice. This guy paid off an entire apartment before turning 29. No bank loan hanging over his head. It's completely his. In this economy, that kind of financial discipline is rare. While most people are busy financing vacations and wondering why their savings accounts barely exist, this guy was pouring every extra dollar into his mortgage like a machine. And now someone is about to try and take advantage of all that effort. I can already feel where this story is heading, and honestly, it makes my blood pressure rise just thinking about it. Here's what I kept ignoring because apparently I wanted to believe the best in someone. Lucia never actually contributed to the utilities, not once in 9 months. Every time it came up, there was always an excuse. Her hours at work had been reduced. Her paycheck arrived late. Some unexpected expense came up. Eventually, she started using my credit card for groceries. Then groceries slowly turned into clothing purchases, salon appointments, and random shopping charges I'd notice weeks later on the statement. Whenever I tried bringing it up, she would give me this wounded expression and ask if I was seriously going to keep track of every dollar when we were supposed to be a couple. She made me feel like some controlling jerk just for mentioning money. So eventually I stopped mentioning it. 9 months passed like that. 9 full months of excuses, and not a single utility payment actually happened. And the thing that really gets to me is that manipulation line she kept using. Are you really going to count every dollar? That phrase alone feels like it came straight from some playbook. I swear there must be some underground manual circulating somewhere teaching people how to guilt their partners into financially supporting them. Because the nerve it takes to make someone feel guilty for noticing you're spending their money on salon visits while contributing absolutely nothing, that's not just manipulation anymore, that's practically performance art. My neighbor Nicholas lives across the hall. He's a retired guy in his early 60s who has been in the building for 2 decades. We've always had a friendly relationship. When I travel for work, he keeps an eye on my place. And whenever his Wi-Fi acts up, I help him fix it. He's a good guy who mostly minds his own business, but he notices everything that happens on our floor. Last Thursday, I had to fly out for a work trip because of some warehouse issues a few states away. I was supposed to stay there until Monday. Late Friday night, around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Nicholas. There was no explanation, just a short message saying he thought I should see something along with a video file. The video was around 40 seconds long. It was filmed from his doorway, pointing down the hallway toward my apartment. My front door was wide open, and there were people everywhere. Music was blasting so loudly it echoed through the hallway. Strangers I had never seen were walking in and out of my place carrying drinks. Then the video ended. Nicholas. Absolute legend. Seriously, neighbors like that are priceless. He didn't gossip with other tenants. He didn't post about it in some building group chat. He sent the evidence straight to me. Nicholas probably saw that party forming and thought, well, this is my moment. Take care of your older neighbors, people. Help them with their internet, water their plants. Because when someone decides to throw a massive party in your apartment while you're out of town, a guy like Nicholas will be there filming everything like a security camera with better judgment. I texted him back asking what was going on. He said Lucia had apparently invited people over, and when he knocked on the door asking them to lower the noise, some random guy told him to go back to his apartment and mind his business. Nicholas assumed I had no idea any of this was happening. I tried calling Lucia twice, no answer. I texted her asking what was going on. About an hour later, she replied saying she had a few friends over and everything was fine. She said I was overreacting because I was far away and couldn't see the situation. A few friends. The video clearly showed at least 25 people inside my living room. Around 2 in the morning, Nicholas texted again. "Party's still going," he wrote. "Heard glass break." Then he sent another video. This one lasted over a minute. He must have stepped closer because the sound was clearer. I could see straight into my apartment. Lucia was standing on top of my couch, while a group of people gathered around her like she was giving some kind of speech. Through the music, I could hear bits and pieces of what she was saying. I watched that clip 17 times in my hotel room. By the 18th time, I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. She has absolutely no idea that I have those recordings. I fly home tomorrow, and as far as she knows, everything between us is perfectly normal. Just a few friends, 25 people. Lucia. 25 strangers wandering through a home they don't pay for. Drinking alcohol they didn't buy. Breaking things they can't replace. And she's literally standing on his couch delivering speeches like she just won an award. But the detail that keeps replaying in my mind is this. He watched that video 17 times. 17. Then by the 18th, viewing something changed. That moment when someone shifts from furious rage to quiet calculation, that's when things get serious. She thought she was dating someone easy to push around. Instead, she was dating someone who solves problems for a living. And now she's been moved into the problem resolution category. All right, I'm home now and things have escalated quickly. Get ready. I changed my flight and arrived Sunday afternoon instead of Monday. I told my supervisor I had a family emergency. I didn't tell Lucia I was coming home early. Instead of asking her to pick me up from the airport like usual, I took an Uber. The moment I walked into my apartment, the first thing I noticed was the smell. Old beer mixed with that sticky, sweet scent of spilled liquor soaked into the carpet. The second thing I noticed was my coffee table. It's a solid wood piece I bought from an estate sale and refinished myself. Now there was a huge ring stain burned into the surface and a chunk missing from one corner. Lucia was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. When she saw me, her expression shifted quickly from surprise to a smile that didn't quite look genuine. She asked why I was back early. I said work wrapped up faster than expected. She hugged me. I hugged her back because I wanted to see how far she would take the act. I asked how her weekend had been. She said it was quiet. Mostly stayed home watching movies. I asked if anyone had come over. She said her friend Celeste stopped by on Saturday for a couple hours, but that was all. She said it while looking directly into my eyes. 9 months together, and she could lie that smoothly without even blinking. When I walked in, the smell hit immediately. You know that smell when you walk into a house the morning after a college party? That combination of alcohol, sweat, and bad decisions lingering in the air. That's what my apartment smelled like. And then she sat there calmly describing a peaceful weekend of watching movies. At that point, it wasn't even lying anymore, it was storytelling. Apparently, 25 drunk strangers were part of a quiet candlelit movie night. I started walking around the apartment quietly checking things. There was a crack in the bathroom mirror, a burn mark on the kitchen counter, 3 large trash bags filled with empty bottles sitting on the balcony that she clearly planned to throw away before I returned. There was also a dark stain on the carpet near the front door. I asked about the coffee table. She said she accidentally knocked over a candle. The mirror? She claimed it had been like that already. The trash bags? She said she had been cleaning. Every answer came instantly. No hesitation, no guilt. Just smooth explanations like lines she had rehearsed. I told her I was exhausted from traveling. She looked relieved that I wasn't questioning things further. She suggested ordering dinner and watching something together later. I agreed and went into the bedroom. Here's the truth. I spent the entire flight home planning. While sitting in that airplane seat, I went through every bank statement from the last 9 months. I added up every purchase she made using my credit cards. The total came to just over $6,000. Clothes salon visits, restaurants when I was at work, online shopping for items I never even saw in the apartment. $6,000, all while paying nothing toward rent or utilities. $6,000. She managed to spend $6,000 of my money while living completely free in my fully paid apartment. And then she had the nerve to throw a party that damaged my furniture. Think about that math for a second. 0 contribution, $6,000 taken, property damaged, and she was telling guests I was the joke. She treated my bank account like some kind of endless supply of money. But the audit has arrived, and the accountant is not happy. During the flight, I also listened repeatedly to Nicholas's second video, the one where she's standing on my couch addressing the crowd. By the fifth replay, I could clearly hear every word she said. I've never felt more determined to carefully dismantle someone's comfortable situation. Right now, she thinks I'm tired and clueless. She has no idea that while she orders takeout using my credit card, I'm in the bedroom drafting a formal notice informing her that her living arrangement is about to end. But there's a new complication. While pretending to nap, I checked my phone and saw messages from an unknown number. Turns out Lucia gave my phone number to her mother, Matilda. Apparently, Matilda wants to talk with me about our future together. Because according to Lucia, we're planning to get engaged soon. More updates coming. I'm about to start making some moves. She told her family an engagement is coming. This woman is playing a strategic game on a board that doesn't even exist. She's not just planning to stay in the apartment. She's planning the upgrade path. First the apartment, then the ring. Then eventually her name on the property. And before long, he'd be working overtime funding her lifestyle while she tells her friends he's useless. But the one thing everyone should recognize is this man's patience. He's lying in bed pretending to sleep while drafting legal notices. She's happily ordering food using his card, thinking everything is perfectly normal. Meanwhile, he's quietly reviewing his plans like someone preparing a carefully designed operation. The level of self-control required not to explode immediately, to allow her to keep lying while collecting evidence piece by piece, isn't just revenge. It's strategy. Update 2. I ended up meeting with Matilda. Yeah, I know a lot of you are wondering why I would even agree to that, but there was a reason behind it. She suggested we meet at a restaurant so we could talk about the timeline for the engagement. Apparently, Lucia had already told her that I was planning to propose by the end of the month and that we had started looking at venues for a spring wedding. Total fabrication. In 9 months together, I had never once brought up marriage. So there I was, sitting across from this woman while she talked about how relieved she was that Lucia had finally met someone dependable, someone responsible, someone who could take care of things. She mentioned that Lucia's previous relationships had all failed because those men couldn't handle a strong woman. According to her, Lucia deserved someone who would financially support her since she'd struggled to maintain stable work over the years. And right at that moment, everything suddenly made sense. The entire story fell into place. Those guys who supposedly couldn't handle a strong woman, translation, they figured out what was happening and left before the plan fully played out. This clearly wasn't Lucia's first attempt at something like this. There was a pattern, a history. She finds financially stable men, gets comfortable, moves in, slowly starts draining resources, and when the guy finally catches on, she plays the victim. And Matilda wasn't just some concerned mother. She was practically acting like a manager overseeing the operation. She showed up to this lunch like a business agent negotiating terms. At one point, she casually asked when I planned on adding Lucia's name to the apartment deed. Just like that, as if discussing property ownership over lunch 9 months into a relationship was completely normal. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just Lucia's scheme. This was practically a family enterprise. Matilda explained how a good partner should handle finances, while Lucia focuses on creating a comfortable home environment. She asked whether I had thought about adding Lucia to my bank accounts yet. She spoke about these things like they were standard expectations. For a 9-month relationship, I sat there smiling politely the entire time. I told her I wanted everything to be perfect before proposing. That seemed to satisfy her. When I got home, Lucia asked how lunch went. I told her it was nice, and that her mom had some interesting ideas about our future together. She looked very pleased. She had absolutely no idea that my mindset had shifted completely. That same night, I canceled all of my credit cards and reported them as lost. The replacement cards were set to be delivered directly to my office instead of the apartment. I also contacted my building manager to ask about the official process of removing someone who wasn't on the lease. 30-day written notice minimum. Operating on a completely different level barely even describes it. He sat through that entire lunch while Matilda basically laid out their entire strategy like it was a business presentation. He smiled politely the whole time, went home, and quietly began setting the entire shutdown in motion while Lucia believed she had already secured her future. The new credit cards going to the office instead of the apartment? That's because he knew if they arrived at home, she would intercept them instantly, like a guided missile targeting his finances. And contacting the building manager about eviction procedures while she was sitting in the living room believing she was about to become a fiancé? That's cinematic. It's almost poetic. This guy is orchestrating a full symphony of consequences while she's still humming along thinking she's in a completely different song. On Wednesday, I told Lucia we needed to talk. I asked when she planned to start contributing to the household expenses. I also asked about her job situation since she had been vague about it for months. She immediately became defensive. She said relationships shouldn't be transactional, that I was ruining the atmosphere by bringing up money. She asked if this conversation was about the credit cards and said she thought we had already moved past that. Then she called me petty, controlling. She even said her mother warned her that some men become weird about money when they start feeling insecure. So I asked her directly, what exactly had she told her mother about us getting engaged? She froze, just for 2 seconds. Then she recovered and said she might have casually mentioned it and that maybe her mom misunderstood and exaggerated the situation. I asked if she told her mother that I planned to propose this month. She said she didn't remember exactly. Maybe her mom heard it wrong. More lies, effortless lies. Her mother warned her that men sometimes get strange about money when they feel insecure. Insecure? The man who owns his apartment outright is insecure about finances? The man who paid off his mortgage while she contributed nothing? This was textbook Darvo deny. Attack, reverse victim and offender. I ask a reasonable question and suddenly I'm the problem. I'm controlling, I'm insecure. She was using therapy language as a weapon to make me question my own boundaries. And that brief pause when I mentioned the engagement? That was her brain scrambling to calculate how much I actually knew. She recovered quickly, but that pause said everything. The cracks were starting to show. I told her I needed some space to think. She asked what that meant. I said I wasn't sure yet. That evening, she was unusually sweet. She cooked dinner. Suggested we watch a movie together. Classic Damage Control. On Thursday morning, I drafted the official 30-day notice. I didn't give it to her right away. I was waiting for the right moment, because she still hadn't seen Nicholas's video. I wanted her to understand exactly why everything was about to collapse before I handed her that paper. Her friend Celeste had been texting her constantly. I noticed notifications popping up on her phone, something about urgently needing to talk about that night. More on that soon. Celeste was clearly panicking. You could practically feel the anxiety through those text messages. Those were definitely "girl, he might know something, we need to get our story straight" messages. The rats were sensing that the ship was starting to sink. They were trying to coordinate before everything went down. But Lucia still didn't know about the video. She had no idea Nicholas had recorded everything. Meanwhile, she was making apology dinners and suggesting movie nights, thinking she could charm her way back into my good graces. Completely unaware that there was a 40-second video of her standing on my couch calling me pathetic to a room full of strangers. I was simply waiting for the perfect moment. Because this wasn't just an eviction. This was the finale, final update. I showed her the video last night, and honestly, it played out exactly the way I expected. I got home from work and she was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. I sat down across from her and said we needed to have a serious conversation. She immediately went into defensive mode. Asked if this was about money again and said she was tired of constantly having to justify herself. I told her I knew about the party. Her face went completely still. She started explaining that it was just a small gathering and things got a little out of hand. Nothing serious. I let her talk. Let her build her story about how Celeste invited extra people and it wasn't really her fault and she had planned to tell me eventually. Then I pulled out my phone and played Nicholas's second video. The one where she's standing on my couch giving her speech. I watched her expression while she listened to herself. You guys want the truth? My boyfriend is the biggest joke I've ever dated. He's a spineless pushover with absolutely no self-respect. He worships me like I'm a goddess, and honestly, it's pathetic. I'm only here for the free place to live and his credit cards. The crowd in the video laughed and cheered. She watched herself say those words. And for once, she had nothing prepared. Alcohol doesn't invent opinions, it exposes them. That speech didn't come out of nowhere. That came from somewhere real. She genuinely believed it. She truly thought she had found the perfect target. Someone so devoted he would never question anything. And the people in the room cheered while she humiliated the man whose home they were standing in. She tried to explain. Said she was drunk? Said she was just showing off? That she didn't mean any of it. That people say stupid things at parties. That I was taking everything out of context, that she loved me. I asked her what context could possibly make that acceptable. She didn't have an answer. So I handed her the 30-day notice. Told her she had until the end of the month to move out. My cards were already canceled. The new ones were at my office. She wouldn't be getting another dollar from me. Her attitude shifted quickly, from apologetic to furious. She called me vindictive, said I was blowing one drunken rant out of proportion, said her mother was right that eventually I would show my true colors. Then she grabbed her phone and started texting rapidly. Probably Celeste, probably Matilda. Over the next 2 weeks, she tried everything. Her mother came to my building demanding to speak with me. I told the front desk not to let her upstairs. Lucia cried, apologized. Promised she would change, then she got angry again. Accused me of recording her without consent, threatened vague consequences, then went back to crying. Her friend Celeste only let her stay for a few nights. Matilda's apartment apparently didn't have room either. She started reaching out to mutual acquaintances, asking if anyone could help her. Word eventually got back to me that nobody wanted to get involved. On the last day of the month, she sent me 17 text messages. All my cards are canceled. The locks are changed. My friends won't help me, please. I didn't mean any of it. I need more time. You're ruining my life over one mistake. I read every message and I smiled. She called me spineless, a joke, disgusting for caring about her. She was right about one thing. I did treat her like she was something special. But that version of me doesn't exist anymore, and she's going to spend a long time wishing she hadn't destroyed him.